What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. Link will be in the description box below. This video is entitled Why There is a Shortage of Builders. I've been thinking, I've been researching, I've been listening to other people, and this is what I've come up with. Because now, not just now, but as of late, people say there are not enough brothers making moves and building in the black community. Okay, touche. And the question could be asked, how did we get here? So part of it is affirmative action. Part of it is education. Part of it is the legal enforcement of criminal behavior or overcharging people for things. So let's get into it. Education. And a part of it is economics for sure. The education part. When people want to talk for, like the school or prison pipeline, normally that's predominantly for black boys, right? So if you're putting children in special education classes and you're trying to slowly funnel them into the prison, then that takes away of the type of the men that can be builders. Now, you got on one side of this coin, schools implementing their bias and prejudices to sabotage young boys becoming men. And then you have the other side of that coin where you have parents allowing this because if you put these kids on drugs, you get a check. So in that segment, it takes away from the builders you're going to have in the future because you sabotage their education to become to gain the knowledge to become builders in the future. Okay. Now, even in not to mention in schools have been for years more so geared to how females or how girls learn or females learn over how boys learn or males learn. So, his male energy is deemed as unruly and threatening and unlike female energy that can be, I guess, more easily tamed or subdued, right? So let's get that out of the way. Then you got affirmative action, whether that's higher education or hiring. Because what happens is black men aren't double minorities. Okay? Only women of color can be a double minority, and women in general can be considered a minority. So as far as this competitiveness, a lot of you ladies have used your government leverage or policies in place to leverage yourselves to be in positions above men because you were a double minority, even if you were or were not as qualified, right? Now, the reason I bring that up is because normally with males and females, females usually tend to gravitate towards skill sets that aren't conducive to building. So So to take up these spots in these schools and to get these degrees that aren't conducive to building, it contributes to the problem. Not not just that though. And the same thing with these jobs and occupations. To get in these jobs and they not necessarily want to work them on a regular basis because you don't want to deal with the stress, or sitting in boardrooms and saying, this black dude's a good candidate, but he's a black guy and that intimidates me, so we're going to make sure we freeze him out. Whole nother thing, right? So that contributes to less people in the position to be builders. And for you people who say, well, you should go create your own outside, you can't cut somebody off at the knees and then tell them they need to be a sprinter. That's just that's why sometimes we don't even pay attention to what a lot of people say. You cut somebody off at the knees as a child by sabotaging their education, and you cut them off at the knees as a young adult by furthering their higher education or employment opportunities. And then you tell them, you should just go figure out something and build it on your own while everybody else is benefiting off of the system that is built for the most part, to groom kids into functional, productive adults for the society. That doesn't make sense. Because everybody's participating in this sabotage. So, I'm gonna get back to some things. I'm gonna skip forward first. Law enforcement, or the way the laws of punishments is doled down. You can see it over and over again. You see black men get harsher sentences and harsher this and harsher that and harsher this and harsher that. And you see over and over again where other people don't. And that really helps them, because all these slaps on the wrist doesn't go against them being hired or denied for anything in the future. You had the young lady who put her roommate's toothbrush where the sun don't shine, and did all that and all the other stuff, and she's not charged with anything really. You've had guys who actually committed rapes on white women who went to college, white women, get probation. You've had people who got caught with drugs who got slaps on the wrist. As much as we talk about black athletes, the guy Baker Mayfield, if I'm not mistaken, he ran from the cops in like Alabama, and it's not going to affect him being a top 10 draft pick, right? And I mean ran as in police chase. You know what I'm saying? So you got all these officers who shoot people and continue to have their jobs, and then the ones that have a little color to them getting locked up, right? So this type of stuff takes away from the builders. And then we have parenting. I got to get into that too. We're not grooming our young boys to be builders. So that's the irony of it, is that, what some of these people are looking for, it's something that you haven't raised that we haven't raised our kids to be on a holistic level. On a community level. So we're asking for something we're not creating. And if guys actually want to do that on their own and they become that on their own, then we telling them they need to come back and help the community, which the community didn't really help them to begin with. So that's a catch-22. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But what I'm getting at is, these are the reasons, why there's a shortage of builders, And I got to go back a little bit because in all honesty, in our community, even though it sounds backwards, because it is backwards, at this particular junction, the women should be looked at as the builders, because the women are who the community gathered around and galvanized around to create a support system for them to go to school, get educations, get good jobs, and create a good income. But unfortunately, people didn't take in consideration most women do not want to be builders of a community. So we basically invested in a group that ultimately just wanted money for the freedom of beauty and leisure, which they were chasing already prior to the educational support system boom. Because, just look at what they've studied, what they've graduated in, the type of businesses that they've gravitated to, the type of markets that they frequent, normally business, leisure, nonprofit. So we've wasted a lot of time. So all of the young men that we should have invested in to create builders didn't. You know what? Quickly, divorce, family, courts, child support, that did it too. Because in some ways, it cracked the stability in some of these guys' lives who are on track to be builders. So now they don't have the capital to start. So, it is what it is. I was just thinking about this. And no, yeah, because I could get into the banks and all that other stuff and the races and all that other stuff, but I'm going to leave it right there. We out.